All right, so good to see you this morning. Thank you for being here in Buda, in San Marcos, online. We're so glad you're here. And also, I just have a question for you as we get started. Like how functional or dysfunctional would you say your family is? Does your family put the fun in dysfunction, or is it more like we put the funk in dysfunction? You know, there's no such thing as a perfect family. So we're calling this My Imperfect Family. Not just about my family, which is definitely imperfect, but we all have issues, right? We all have challenges. And in our family, we don't have fights. We have intense discussions. And every night in my family, because it's me and my wife and two daughters. I've even got a girl dog, so it's all women in my family, and except for me. And there's a lot of drama in my family. You know, there's a lot of drama, and so every night I give the most dramatic award, most dramatic performance, and sometimes I even win that myself. But the fact is, even though we have imperfect families, God has a perfect plan for your family. And in our culture today, we are seeing the family come under attack like never before. All of the major forces of media and forces, Hollywood, social media, even government. I mean, it all seems there's an attack, an all-out war on the family. And we're seeing that this breakdown of the family, which is indeed happening, is leading to many, many problems. 90% of the poverty in our world can be attributed to the breakdown of the family. We've seen an unprecedented rise in suicide, in violence and crime and drug use and identity issues and gender confusion and sexual confusion, and also the loss of faith and people walking away from the church. All of this is directly connected to the strength of the family. And the problem is, we have been taught to do whatever it is we want for ourselves, even at the expense of our kids. And our kids are paying the price, and it has weakened the family. But what we want to do through this series is we want to strengthen and lift up the family so that we have strong families here at the Konnection Church, here in our community, so that we can begin making a dent and making an impact and influence our culture. The family was not our idea. It was God's idea. God came up with the idea of the family, so we know it's not finished. And we know that He has a perfect plan for us, even in the middle of our imperfect families. One of the challenges as we start a series on the family is we know that not everybody, is married. Obviously, not everybody has kids, and so I kind of want to give you some ground rules on what do you do if you're not in that kind of situation today. I would say most of you have families, brothers, sisters, parents. We all have family and extended family that this can apply to. But also, if you're not at a certain stage yet, I just want to encourage you to take some notes. If you don't need this now, or you don't think you need this now, you will need this in the future. And then also, even if you're single, just know that you're not alone. You're not alone. You have a family. The church is a family. God has placed us in the church and in this family. And every week at the Konnection Church, we're a family expecting guests. So stay connected. Stay connected with the family of God, because you weren't meant to live your life alone apart from the church. We were all made for relationships. You were created for connection. And whether or not you're married, you still need friendships we need to stay connected because, the worst kind of punishment that they give is called what? It's called solitary confinement. And some of us have been, experiencing that more in the past couple of years where we've kind of insulated and isolated ourselves. And so today I want us to talk about the place of the home. The home is meant to be a special place. And, in the classic movie, The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, she, clicks her heels. She says, "There's no place like home." Well, what kind of place should our homes be? And today I want to talk about 4 characteristics of a healthy home, that place of the home. And the first one is that the home is a place, or should be a place, of security. Some people think of the home as just sort of a place that you eat and sleep. Papa was a Rolling Stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. It's just a place where you crash. But God says, no, our homes are a place, or should be a place of safety and of security. And they need to be a safe place because when we leave our homes, we know that out in our world, we're going to face storms of all kinds. But when we come back home, it should be a place of peace. It should be a place of protection. And Proverbs 14:26 says this: "Reverence for the Lord gives a man deep strength. His children have a place of refuge and security." Our home should be a place of refuge and security. Now listen, when mom and dad are committed to stay together and committed to one another, that provides great security in your home. It provides great security and stability for your kids. In fact, the greatest thing that you can do as a parent for your kids is to have a strong marriage. Listen, there are a lot of storms that we face. We face emotional, physical, relational, financial storms, and there are 3 major kinds of storms that we face. The first kind of storm that we face is the storm of change. We live in an age of unprecedented change, rapid change. Things are changing around us faster than ever before in history. Did you know any change, whether it's good or bad, positive or negative, it causes stress. And the more change we have, the more stressed we are. No wonder we're all so stressed out all the time. We need a place of stability, a place that's predictable, that you can count on, and that should be our homes. But also, there's the storm of failure. Po body's nerfing. That's what we said in the series description. And so that was not a typo, by the way. That was intentional. But the fact is, we all mess up. Sometimes we don't make the team. Sometimes we don't make the grade. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we lose a job. There's all kinds of ways that we fall short. And when we fall short, those are the times when we stand together and we say, we're going to make it through this together. But we also face storms of rejection. We're not always well-liked or well-received. This is one of the hardest relational storms that we can deal with. Some of our rejection issues go back all the way to the playground, to recess at school. Kids can be so cruel at times, and they can be brutal. And if you don't have a support system at home, you're going to start believing the things that are said about you. And sometimes we carry those words that are said about us all through our life, even into adulthood, where we're trying to deal with them today. And teenagers especially are in a situation where they try so hard to be accepted, to fit in. And so throughout, teenagedom has not existed forever. It was something that kind of came came into our culture in maybe 40s or sometime back in the last century, where there's this time period of being a teenager. We're sort of in between being a kid and being an adult, and in those teenage years you're trying to be accepted, and so kids will turn to all kinds of things. Not too long ago, back in the 90s, kids that tried to be accepted, or they didn't feel like they fit in, they were goth. Remember the goth? Anybody goth kids in here? Yeah, I know some of you, but the goth kids, they're like, industrial music, and they wear, black and all of this stuff, really, I don't know, into A Nightmare Before Christmas or something. I don't know. But but today, they try to fit into the LGBTQ movement in order to be accepted and affirmed when they don't feel like they fit in. And that's why it's so important in our homes that we are offering our kids identity. We're telling them who God says that they are, so they don't try to change who they are to be what they are not, okay? That didn't take me that long to get into that, did it? But I'm sure we'll hit on that some more. But as families and as a church family, we need to stand together. We need to stand back to back, to stand through the storm. Ecclesiastes 4 and verse 9 says, 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble. A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. And that triple braided cord means that God is at the very center of your family and of your home. The goal of most games, think about baseball. What's the goal in baseball? It's to make it home safe, right? And so you want to be safe when you are at home. How can you turn your home into a place of safety and security? The first thing you need to do is hear. That means a lot of listening. To have a listening ear, to take time for conversation and for talking and listening. Sometimes people just need to be heard, so we need to make time to hear. Also, another way is through hugs. Like there needs to be appropriate physical affection. That means hugs, pats on the back, holding each other. That goes a long way to make our families feel safe. But then also we need to offer our families the help that they need. The help that they need. If somebody needs help in your family, you step up, you help them out, you walk alongside of them. And then also we need to give hope. We need to be offering hope. And for every, critique or constructive criticism, we need to be offering 10 times more encouragement. And we need to help our families see the hope and the good future, and help our kids see the good future that God has planned for them, offering them massive doses of hope. Your home should be a place of security, but it also needs to be a place of schooling. We learn our most valuable lessons in life from our homes. The home is the primary place to learn about life. And as parents, you are your kids' main teachers. That's not a job that you just sort of send off or abdicate to someone else. A lot of parents today, you may have thrown up your hands and you may just say, my kids just don't listen to me. Listen, you are still the primary influencer of your kids. Whether they will tell you that or not, it's true. You've got to keep speaking. You got to keep leading and teaching. Don't give up. Don't give up. In our homes, what do we learn? We learn how to walk and talk and eat and hygiene, and we learn basic life skills. We learn the values that we carry through our life, and we learn what matters the most. We learn about relationships, and we learn about God. We learn about who God is. Ephesians 6:4 tells us, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and the instruction that comes from the Lord. That is your primary responsibility as a dad and as a mom, to be instructing your kids in the ways of the Lord. And there are 3 stages you want to lead them to. The first stage is there's this parental control, where as parents, you're making the important decisions for your kids. You're guiding their decisions and you're telling them, do this, don't do this. But you want to lead them to a place of self-control, where they're able to make decisions that are good decisions for themselves. But ultimately, you want to lead them to a place of God's control, where they're asking God, God, what do you want for my life? God, what direction do you want me to go? That is training in the Lord. And we have that responsibility of helping our kids grow, just like Jesus grew. In Luke 2:52, we see Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and with all people. So Jesus grew in wisdom. That's that intellectual growth of learning the knowledge of the world. And you know, it's not just knowledge, but it's wisdom. And wisdom is greater than knowledge, because wisdom is knowledge applied. And there's some people that are very highly educated. They're full of knowledge, but they're foolish because they don't know how to apply the wisdom, you know, to life and apply their knowledge in the correct way. He also, Jesus grew in stature. That means he grew physically healthy. As parents, we lead our kids to learn what it means to be healthy. Unfortunately, this is very difficult, right? Because of all of the processed foods and the fast food and all of this. We've got to be very intentional to help our kids learn how to be healthy, how to eat and exercise, and to get the right amount of sleep, okay? I mean, parents, come on. Your kids, they need a bedtime, okay? What time's the right time for a 5-year-old to go to bed, Pam? What time? 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, all right. 8 o'clock, that's a good time. Yes. Some parents are like, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. All right. And we teach our kids to be healthy, but Jesus also grew in favor with God. That is spiritual growth, that we teach them to know God. And you know, there are a lot of parents who just say, well, you know, I don't want to push my religion or my faith on my kids. I'm just going to let them sort of figure it out for themselves. No, don't let them figure it out for themselves. We don't do that when it comes to like basic hygiene skills, right? Like, you know, I don't care if you learn to brush your teeth. We don't do that when it comes to like driving a car. Just, you know, go get out there and drive. We've got to direct them. We've got to teach them. If you don't teach them, you are teaching them. You're saying, well, God is just an optional thing. No, God is the most important thing, and their faith is the most important part of their life. So you want to guide them, because listen, if you don't, someone else will step into that role. Someone else will guide them, whether it's the media, social media, you know, school, whatever, and it may not be in the right direction. It probably won't be in the right direction. And then growing in favor with people. This is their relationships. And you as a parent need to have a role and a say in directing their friendships, okay? So let me give you I'm going to just give you some ideas on how to pass on the baton of faith. The first one is to just look for teachable moments, because faith is something that is caught more than taught. Your kids are always watching you. Sometimes our lives are so loud that our kids can't hear what we say because they're watching what we do. And so you're always teaching. And also partner with the church to help you. At the Konnection Church, we want to come alongside of you. You're not on your own. You don't have to do this all by yourself. That's why we pour a lot of resources into our Konnection Kidz ministries, because we believe in, we're not just babysitting in Konnection Kidz. We are raising godly leaders. That's what we're about. And the number one complaint of our leaders in Konnection Kidz is that inconsistent attendance produces inconsistency in our ability to lead and to teach kids. If they're just here every other week or once a month, they're missing out on so much. So leverage the church to come alongside of you to help build faith into your kids. Listen, our homes are a place of learning values. We learn what is right and what is wrong. And as parents, you're responsible for teaching your kids about sexuality. Did your parents ever have the talk with you about the birds and the bees? Yeah. Well, today, it's so much harder to talk about the birds and the bees, because not only do you have to talk about the birds and the bees, you got to talk about the birds and the birds, and the bees, and the bees that look like birds, and the birds that look like bees, but without stingers. I mean, it's all confusing, right? So listen, you've got to learn to talk to your kids about these things, these truths about who they are without embarrassment, and talk with them because they are being taught. And let me just say, I maybe I'll have a whole message on this in this series, but I cannot stress enough, phones. So if you were to send your kid over to have a sleepover at someone's house, they were to go sleep over at someone's house, what would you do? You would want to meet the kids that they were going over to hang out with. You'd probably want to meet their parents. You may want to even see the house. But what we do instead, I don't even know if kids have sleepovers anymore. Instead, we just send them to their room with their phone. And guess what they're doing? They're having sleepovers all night long with random strangers out there on the internet, learning all sorts of things that are they're indoctrinating them against your values, against godly values, okay? So you've got to do something about the phones. And it's not like a mark of honor when you give your little baby a phone and say, look, they're 6 months old and they already know how to scroll Instagram. That's not, this is gonna be just the rest of the message now. They go on, YouTube is fine, right? No, it's not fine. YouTube, you've got to know what they're watching, and you've got to monitor it, and you've got to be on top of that. Okay, I can't keep talking about that. But listen, I am so proud of our church for we are offering now what we call Konnection Christian Academy. It is a hybrid homeschool option where kids come to school 2 or 3 days a week, okay? And if you're interested in something like that, then email Pam at theconnectionchurch.org for more information about that. We want to partner with you to help you as you're educating your kids and leading your kids. And Rowdy did say earlier, he said the thing about Christianity is just one generation away from extinction. Yes, I do say that. However, that's not going to happen because God is in control of his church. He says, I will build my church. But if you don't take responsibility for passing your faith on to the next generation, they can't pass it on to the generation that comes after them. Isaiah 38:19 says, each generation tells of your faithfulness to the next. Okay, so not only are you influencing the next generation, but you're influencing future generations. And no matter what kind of legacy you inherited, the question is, what kind of legacy are you leaving for future generations? Maybe the legacy of your family was one you're not too proud of. Maybe you came from a family like I did of alcoholism, or maybe you came from a family like I did of divorce, or maybe it was abuse or addiction. But today is the day where you can say, I'm going to break the chain. I'm not passing on that legacy of my past to my kids, but I'm passing on a brand new legacy of faith. And for some families in our church, you've just come to faith in Christ. And you're saying, today, I'm going to leave a legacy of godliness and of righteousness for my kids. I'm going to give them a rich spiritual heritage that they can know that our family stands for something. Our family stands for God. In Deuteronomy 6, verse 6, it says, you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commandments I'm giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home, when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, and when you are getting up. We have responsibility every day to teach and to lead our kids. I'm just going to hit on these next few points because I don't have much time. But our family needs to be a spot for fun. You know, Christianity should be the most exciting. Our Christian families should be the most exciting families because Jesus has come to give us a full life. And so we need to be setting the standard for fun. That means being spontaneous. Yes, we take our job as parents seriously, but we can also be serious about having some fun. And listen, when I'm laying on my deathbed, I know my kids are not going to be all that impressed by all the super spiritual prayers that I prayed in my lifetime. They're going to be most impressed by, did I love them? They'll remember those special memories that we had together. And so at the Connection Church, we have a parenting goal. Our parenting goal at the Connection Church is that we're raising our kids to love God, to love their church, and to love their parents. I think that no matter how many degrees they have, how much money our kids make, how successful they are, true success is that they're walking with Jesus. And if home is not that much fun when they're growing up, then don't expect them to come home after they've grown to hang out all that much. Psalm 127:3 says, children are a gift from the Lord. They're a reward from him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them. That's Pastor Bobby's life verse right there, right? He's trying to get that full quiver. So listen, you can make fun, and you can make time for fun, and you can plan fun. You only have your kids for a season. They're only little for a season. Time is short. You want to make that time count. And so are you enjoying your kids, or are you just kind of enduring your kids? You want to have fun, but also the family is a place for service. It's a launch pad for ministry. There's nothing that's going to draw your family together in a greater way than if you're all committed to Christ, you're all serving together. We have whole families here who serve together at the Connection Church. In 1 Corinthians 16:15, it gives us an example. You know that Stephanus and his